little later than expected, time-wise, but no matter. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be anybody in the gym at this hour anyway. Actually, I can almost guarantee it. But no, plan for today with chest. I think I've been doing my chest days very similarly the last few weeks, right? So what I mean is I'll either start with like incline dumbbell, incline Smith, extra heavy 2 or 3 sets, and then move on to more squeezing stuff. But I think I kind of want to follow suit with how I did quads yesterday, with a lot of just like pretty decently heavy pressing. So I think I want to change up today's chest day and do it similarly. So instead of dumbbell or Smith bench to start, I think starting with machine press will be my way to change it up from what I've been doing. Because I mean, I've been either starting with like flies as a pre-exhaust, or just moving on to, well, not even moving on, but just starting with like dumbbell bench or incline Smith bench, and it's like that's almost been the starter every time. So I think by changing it up, I'm probably giving myself an opportunity at least to have a slightly differently oriented lift instead of just straight up like 2 or 3 crazy heavy sets and then backing off to more light squeezing stuff. So it's almost like kind of balancing that effort in the middle with kind of just more heavier, longer-ish sets of pressing. And when I say longer, I'm not talking over 20 reps. I'm talking that 14, 15 rep range. But I want it to be like real failure each set. So that's what I'm kind of going in with the mindset of. But I can imagine that within about 30, 40-ish minutes after warming up and getting my, my rotator cuffs and stuff ready, I'm gonna be done. Chest on its own does not take too long, so I almost want to just condense the energy and effort I'm doing on a set-by-set basis as kind of tight as I can get it. But no more alluding to the lift. Let's just go make it happen. I'm warm, and I'm getting rather freaking excited. So this is shit. This might be the heaviest I've ever used this chest press before. Usually this is more of like a secondary movement, but today let's start with it. So plan here, really just as many clean reps as possible. The hard part isn't that I'm like holding a squeeze or anything. The hard part of the set is simply the fact that it's a lot of weight, right? So simple enough. So the only thing I'm fighting against is itself and my own form breakdown. So I want chest up, shoulders back, all chest. But give me a second to get amped up and let's get started. I think I'm probably gonna hang out here for a while. Okay. All right, a few more of those. Oh my goodness. Whew. Yeah. Okay, one more. And then let's move on to a different press. Whew. I think I'll do the same weight. I can definitely get 7 on the next one. That's getting close to as low rep-wise as I would want to do, but feels good. So one more heavy one, and then pick something else. All right. Yeah, that was good. It's been a while since I did sets that were that heavy. Let's move on. I definitely got as much out of this machine as I wanted. Relatively heavy. What is that? 120 on the stack. And this setup is bench right around here with the cables. Is that as long as they go? Yeah, good. Wait, let me make sure. Yeah, okay. So, cables down here. I'm not doing a fly, right? I'm not sitting here going all the way out as such, but I do get that fly squeeze at the top, right? So the top feels a bit kind of like I'm holding the top of a pec deck, but since I keep my arms bent, the bottom is like the deep stretch of a press, which for me kind of feels a little safer to overload, right? It's like, what do you think you could, deal with weight-wise in a better manner? Dumbbell bench or dumbbell flies, where you might lose and rip your freaking pec off? Dumbbell flies are kind of out of fashion right now, so you never see any injuries there. Not that I'm asking to see any either, but let's ooh. Well, this is 120. There we go, 130. You gotta remind me of that kind of stuff. But let me get amped up. Come on. Oh my God. Oh, okay. That was too heavy. Let me do one more, but drop it to 110 instead of 130. It's a good set, but not the rep range that I was aiming for. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Let's go back to a flat press now. We're getting close to the end. So let's make this a bit of a superset. And I don't know, there's a lot of ways that people talk about it, or like they describe a superset. Like you're working two different muscle groups together. I guess you could almost call this more of like a drop set in a way. So the pre-exhaust is over here, flat bench, well, flat press more like, with 3 plates. And then once I'm approaching failure, I don't have to totally hit it over here because it's just the pre-exhaust portion. Then flip over and then grab the pec deck, which I may eventually need to add some extra weight to. I wonder if this would have been better as a 400-pound stack instead of 300. But, it's not all about the weight. We know better. Okay. elbows down. I think that's all chest needs. Whew. Oh my gosh. That was a nice and heavy chest day if I have ever freaking had one. Yeah. Usually I think it's like I focus on the extremes. If I'm doing a heavy set, I think, okay, heavy, just quick reps as quick, as fast as I can go. Or lighter squeezing, much slower, much more controlled, much more intentional. So I think I might have been missing that middle ground of a heavy set, but still in a reasonably slow and kind of controlled manner. Because there's definitely logic to, I hear a lot of guys say this about calves, where if you do your calf raises too quick, it's like you're not even really using your calves and working them. You're just using like the elastic effect of how much tension you can build up in your muscle. So I think when you throw a lot of weight around kind of quick, there's definitely some logic to maybe slowing it down a touch. So instead of just working like a spring and moving the shit up and down, you just constantly, well, you get the gist. But anyway, let's make sure I'm in focus, and then run through some of these. Yeah, there we go. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Whew. Really not too many poses for chest, but overall, yeah, feeling pretty freaking wide. This is, well, I guess I'll talk about this in the car. I gotta get packed up and get out of here. But don't be insanely attached to this, right? You might be missing the point, but I'll explain further in just a second. Whatever could you mean? Don't get attached to the pump. What are you, nuts? Yeah, maybe a little. But what I'm really trying to get at is I think this is probably one of the worst, maybe not symptom, that's not the right word, but maybe perspective to have on how you look in the gym is getting attached to the peak, man, right? I mean, let's say you did a crazy cut back in high school, back in college, back in whenever, when you were a little younger, and you were diced that you were doing 2 days in football plus your own workouts. That was your peak condition ever, right? Or, I mean, just any whatever, right? Anybody who's bulked up or cut, typically they have this kind of pinnacle that they look back on, right? Which, later translates to, the guy telling you he used to bench 315 back when he was your age. But, what can happen is then you kind of attribute that as what you should look like, and anything less than that, it's almost so discouraging that you might not even want to try. Right, now that's taking it to extreme. Now I'm not saying you, but just, I can imagine somebody having that thought process. And I think how it manifests the most, at least from what I can see in comments too, is, oh man, well, people don't usually say I'm afraid to bulk. It's usually, well, I don't want to get like a fatter face. Right? I don't want to get a moon face. I don't want to have to deal with dieting down later. I just got abs. I've got a bicep vein. I don't want to lose it. It's always what's the price of starting to bulk up? And I'm not saying do a damn perma bulk to 300 pounds. No, I'm just saying even minor calorie surplus for a period of time to leverage just muscle growth. Now this is once someone has gone through the process of, they know how to work out, they've main gained for a while, you've built a pretty damn solid foundation. But eventually, main gaining only kind of works for so long, right? You got to eat enough food to facilitate growth and recovery, and then increase your training intensity accordingly, right? So if that's the case, what happens is it's kind of like a schism, where it's okay. Do I just continue eating the same amount of food as normal, training the same way as normal, and just staying where I'm at? which, depending on where you're at lifting wise, that could just be the goal, right? I'll get there eventually. I'm no longer going to be like trying to get as big as I possibly can, and eventually I just want to stay the same kind of relative size and just maintain where I'm at, right? But I'm not there yet. If you are, good for you. You did it. But yeah, it's either, okay, just do exactly what I've been doing for the last 2 years, which now is no longer working, and I'm not making progressive gains month by month, year by year, whatever, or do I change something about the equation that is my working out? Diet, training, sleep, hydration, everything else. Do I change something there to try to leverage more gains potentially? And I think that somebody who goes through the process of trying to do that is in a much better position, right? Not only just the fact that they're probably going to continue to progress, but I mean, just from learning something like that, hands-on, trying to improve, you get a deeper understanding of what you're doing, and it just gets easier to continue it later on. It's like IQ, right? Like every time you learn about calories and you start tracking your macros and doing your cardio and working on your progressive overload and everything else, that's just bumping up your lifting IQ. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're now a kinesiologist or a sports scientist, but it does mean that looking at your own situation and how you want to continue to progress in the gym, you're just smarter about it. A damn 70-year-old guy who's been a mechanic for his whole life, he didn't go to mechanic school, but he's just been learning the shit, and he's probably smarter than any damn tech that might pop out of a damn like a Toyota co-op, or is it co-op? Well, you get the gist, right? So by learning it for yourself, kind of treating yourself like an experiment in a way of, okay, if I eat this many more carbs per day and I do this much more cardio per day, let me see what's going to happen. And actually going through that process, you're going to be a damn better lifter, at least a freaking more experienced lifter. That's 100% for sure. But sometimes there are negatives, and I wouldn't even say negatives as like an objective descriptor. There's just outcomes. Now, some outcomes, depending on the guy, could be a bit less desirable, right? I am not as lean, even only like, what is it now? Is it April? So January, February. Okay. Yeah. Almost 2 months later, only like 1 in 3 weeks or so from, my competition lean look, dude, I am way, like objectively, I am way fatter. Like I've got multiple more pounds of body fat on my frame. But that's kind of for the give, right? Getting fatter kind of is the take, but that's for the give of now continuing to make more size gains in this bulking period, right? So, it's just a back and forth. And no matter what you're doing, some guys just love finding the negatives. You could listen to somebody who's never really worked out or dieted before in their life, and no matter what you say you might want to do, they're just going to pinpoint everything that might be difficult with that endeavor. Oh, you're going to start bulking up? Oh, what are you going to start eating a bunch of ground beef and oatmeal? You're not going to eat like a regular person? What, you're going to be working out every day? Come on, man. You got to come on, you can take a day, right? Or if you want to start dieting down, oh, how's the diet going, man? Oh, like somebody's eating something. Oh, you can't have any of this. Oh, come on, you're not going to eat right now? Come on. It's 4th of July. Dude, you only got, what is that? You got a salad? And just a plain burger patty? Dude, go get some bread, man. Get some potatoes. Come on, you can have a couple hot dogs. It's always just looking at the parts of it that are difficult and then highlighting those, right? If you say that you're dieting to, let's just say I don't want to say the uninitiated, but to, anybody who's not really into working out, how many times out of 10 do you think they're going to say, dude, good for you. That's awesome, right? You're making the progress that you want to make. Nice. I doubt that. Oh man, you might have to start asking like hundreds of people before you get that response. It's always just going to be, I can't even think about it. I don't know. Usually I'm not going around telling people I'm dieting, but it's always just highlighting the aspects of it that are difficult, you know. So just don't let that kind of phase into your mind, right? I mean, I've at least take it from me, I think I've got a reasonable grasp. I mean, I'm sure my own perspective is totally like off the rails in one way or another since I've taken this whole bodybuilding thing this far. I mean, it's not necessarily the most normal thing to do, that's for sure. But in terms of like my own self-perception, I mean, I've looked at myself as lean as I can be. And, I mean, go back and, you know, look at one of the workouts in early October. That was, I haven't been that soft for a while, right? But so I've kind of seen, you know, two relatively extreme ends of things in terms of just how I look. Like even when I'm kind of softer, you know, I've still got like a muscular build, so it's not like I'm totally out of shape like that, right? But, you know, some guys really let that eat at them, you know? I mean, look at how many, I mean, let's just take, you know, everybody who's posting like fitness stuff, influencer characters. I mean, a lot of these guys are just diced year round, right? Now, of course, they're at that situation where they're probably just at their, you know, personal kind of final form, and they just want to stay where they're at, which, more power to you, right? But, you know, it kind of becomes this bar where I would imagine there's at least a couple guys where they're like, oh man, you know, I don't want to post this picture, I'm a little soft here, or a little whatever here, you know. That's just the nature of it, right? Everything's going to come and go, ebb and flow. You just got to ride the waves and keep moving forward. That's my finisher statement for the night. But plan now, shower off, eat some. Ooh, crap! I'm out of my rice. I don't know what I'll eat carb-wise, but protein-wise, half pound of ground beef, some kind of barbecue sauce. I'm not sure which one I've got in the fridge. I know it's not the Sweet Baby Ray's, so I might have to use a scrappier one, whatever I've got left floating around in the cupboard. And go to bed and dream about flying around on my lats with tomorrow's back pump. So I'll see you then.